Hello, but this is XStarKillerX and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Top 10. Today we are going to be looking at the 10 most useful types of cards. Number 10. Pendulum Summon. Now this thing is OP if you get the right cards. What you need to do is place a pendulum monster in each of your zones. Preferably one being pendulum level 1 and the other being as high as possible, say 7, 8 or maybe even 9. As soon as you've done this, once per turn you special summon as many monsters as you can from your hand to the field, which level goes between the lowest and the highest figure level of the cards, if that makes sense. Now the reason this isn't high on the list is because personally I don't use this and I used to find it a bit complicated, hence why I've not used it in any of my decks. So it's just my personal opinion, but overall it is a pretty damn fine effect. Number 9. Delay effect cards. Now these cards range from all sorts of things, to spells, traps, fields, monsters, anything you can possibly imagine. What these cards are designed to do is delay actions which your opponent can take in order to deal damage or destroy cards on your side of the field. For examples which I personally used in my past in the Exodia deck, when your opponent attacks you and you have no cards on the field, you can use a Scarecrow from your hand and special summon it to the field, and that is their turn over. Now that is classed as what I would think to be a delay tactic, just to basically stop them doing as much as they can and to give you an advantage to draw the cards that you need. This is mostly used in Exodia decks and probably is the best way to use it is in an Exodia deck. Number 8. Return cards from field to the hand. Now this can be a very, very effective thing to use, especially if your opponent has loads of XZ monsters or Synchro monsters on the field. What you'd have to do is set a trap such as Compulsive Evacuation Device, and then the turn which they special summon the Synchro monster, XZ summon, or just a really powerful monster to the field. As long as it doesn't have an effect which stops you doing this, you can activate Compulsive Evacuation Device, send the monster back to their hand, and then all the monsters that they just use to summon that monster have gone to the graveyard and you've wasted their turn. This is an extremely effective card to have if your opponent is using an XZs or Synchro based deck. Number 7. Activate effect from hand. Now this can be a lot of variations. Some traps can do this, all spell cards can do this, some monster effects can do this. It is an exceptionally powerful thing if used in the correct way. For example, which I've got here for you, Terraforming. If you activate this from your hand at any time, you can add one card from your deck to your hand, which I'll explain a bit more later. Another one that I have is the Gravekeeper's Commandant. You can discard this card from your hand to add one Necro Valley from your deck to your hand. So there is a limitless things that you can do with this. You can activate from your hand to get another card from the grave, from the deck, to special summon from your hand. It's just limitless potential with this effect. Number 6. Destroy a summoned or special summoned monster. Now this can be a devastating effect to your opponent if they manage to get their powerful monster on the field and it doesn't have an effect which stops it getting destroyed. You can instantly activate a card such as Trap Hole or even Bottomless Trap Hole to instantly get rid of that card, completely ruining their strategy potentially. This can be a very, very devastating effect, especially if it is one of the most powerful cards in their deck. Personally, I really, really like to do this as it really pisses them off. Number 5. Drawing cards from your deck. Now this has to be one of the fundamental things that you need to do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Get cards from the deck to your hand so you can put them on the field. They are unlimitless ways you can do this, from a standard Pot of Greed, which unfortunately is banned, but similar like Jar of Greed or Reckless Greed to just draw cards, or you could use a bit of a more complicated thing such as Trading, where you can discard 1 level 8 to draw 2 cards, or as one I've got here, Advanced Draw, which is tribute 1 level 8 or higher and draw 2 cards. There are also continuous cards which like to put counters on them, such as Shard of Greed and, for example, Royal Magical Library, and once you have so many of counters you can draw so many cards. It is the fundamental point of any Yu-Gi-Oh! Player's deck which they are able to get cards from their deck to their hand. Number 4. Removing cards from play or banishing. Now there are a huge amount of cards from this, from trap cards such as Bottomless Trap Hole. There are just so many things, monster effects such as the entire DD cards which are designed to get your opponent's monsters removed from play. I have a few examples here. Most of the DD ones is mostly when they are attacked. When they battle a monster they will destroy it, or once if opponent special summons a monster, it's just got so much more attack it will get destroyed. And when the card itself is removed from play, you can select another monster to destroy, or you can special summon another removed from play monster. So these can be exceptionally powerful things, especially if your deck is based around it, such as a Psychic deck, which I believe is based around getting cards removed from play. Number 3. Add cards from your deck to your hand. Now this has to be one of the most useful things that any Yu-Gi-Oh player can do, because obviously the more cards you have in your hand, the more cards you've got to play with. But obviously you don't want too many, as you could end up discarding cards which you need. There are huge amounts of cards to be able to do this, from card effects to spells to traps, to so many different ways of getting them from your hand. Some which I know, you could get something such as where a monster is destroyed and get it from your deck to your hand. A discard effect which you'll discard and get it to your hand. There's just so many things you can do, and there's also some which can prevent that, such as the deck lockdown, which prevents anybody from getting cards directly from their deck to their hand. Also, there is cards which are designed to block your opponent's attacks, which then allow you to draw further, basically adding the card from your deck to your hand, using your opponent's moves against them. So there are huge ways you could do this, and it is extremely useful in many different types of duel. Number 2. Cards which cannot be destroyed by card effects, or as I like to refer to it as resistance. Now these things can be exceptionally hard to get off the field and so on, especially if they cannot be destroyed when special summoned or when they use their effects. For examples that I've got here, the Coach Lord Ultimate Trainer cannot be targeted by any card effect. So in other words, if you summon this monster and somebody tries to use a trap card on you, they cannot do that, and they can't target it to destroy it or anything such as reducing attack. So it's exceptionally useful. Another one, of course, Gimmick Puppet Leo does exactly the same thing, cannot be targeted by any sort of card effects. This can be exceptionally helpful if your opponent relies on targeting your cards to remove them from the field, destroy them, and put it back in your deck. There's just so many ways this could benefit a huge variety of decks. And number 1, Special Summon from Graveyard. This has to be one of the best effects ever in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because everybody needs Special Summon from the Graveyard in order to pull off these summons. Personally, for my Gimmick Puppet deck, I rely on getting certain cards to the graveyard and also special summon them using weaker cards from my graveyard, so I can get my XZ monsters out and so on. Exceptionally useful things. The main spell card obviously for this is Monster Reborn, which can special summon any monster from your or your opponent's deck to the field, so graveyard to the field. I say there's limitless ways this could be done. You could use this to summon like 5 monsters in one turn. It's ridiculous the stuff that you could do with this sort of thing. Okay, that is it for this video. Don't forget to punch the like button, leave a comment down below. Also subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, most follow me on Twitter, link down below as always. So last thing to say, thank you so much for watching. I've been X-Star Killer X, and I will see you in the next Yu-Gi-Oh video.